Welcome to Bite Size Dental Marketing. Ian, it is always lovely to see you. I had the rare twice a year treat of seeing you in person, and
It was fabulous, as always.
fabulous. Spent a couple of days in Middenbeemster, Netherlands,
Yes, just
and
outside of Amsterdam, for those who don't know.
just outside of Amsterdam. Amsterdam was nice, but funny. We're talking about suburb and smaller town marketing versus big city marketing. I love the Netherlands. It was amazing. I loved Delft and getting into Middenbeemster and Senior Sister, and your dad's just a legend of a man and so heartwarming. But I do feel like a big city is a big city. I think had you dropped me into outside of some language and obviously the age, London versus New York versus Amsterdam, at some point a big city is a big city, and they just kind of watered down versions of the culture of the neighborhood. Where when you go into Delft or you go into some place like that, like it represents such a strong cultural thing.
You can see it. You can see
it.
the culture.
Now, obviously, when you're in Amsterdam, you're in Amsterdam. I mean, for various reasons. But at some point, like finding Dutch food in Amsterdam is wildly complex, and it's all tourist-based things. But no,
it becomes a global society. It becomes a more cultures begin to weave into each other, and the foods and stuff, which I love, because that actually ties into the conversation today of making sure dentists know when you're in the suburban areas or the less densely populated areas, or more the family cultural side, that differs from a practice that is sitting in a place, like you said, like London or the central Amsterdam or Dallas or central Fort Worth, because you're playing a different game. You're playing a different game.
Yeah. Today was about big city marketing or highly urban, high dense populations. I think we associate that with a more transient population, the younger population in those, versus more suburban or small America that's going to be more family focused and things. But give me the high level rundown of when you think of larger city, higher urban marketing versus lower density suburbans. Walk me through what you feel.
So I'm happy that we're talking about this today, because it's something I'm very passionate about. I've seen again and again dentists making the mistake of what works over there can work for me, or this blanket marketing of hoping that this is SEO, or this is paid media, or this is what a good practice looks like, instead of being in tune with the surroundings and knowing their community or knowing the area that they're in, and then molding your practice to shape the demand that is around you. So to answer your question, the high level here is, when you think of small America or the less populated areas, or as you just said, the Middenbeemster, the I'm not in the city, I'm more outside, and I'm in a community-driven area. Your practice needs to be in tune with the fact that that is what is important to your potential new patient base or your existing patient base.
They chose that location primarily because like the feel of
exactly.
Of it. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, if I think of some of the practices that we work with out in North Carolina, or even in Greenville, Texas is another one that I've heard, that even though it's a little bit bigger, it still has that very close community feel, and everyone knows each other. And that is where, for me, the dentist that has the practice that plays to that is thinking about how they're going to structure their social media, about being involved in the community, about having that this is a family home to you, not just this dental shop or this dental practice that's this high-end, sleek, new, modern, offers every single thing under the sun.
All the technology. Yeah. No one chose a dentist because of technology.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is on the other side, where the big cities. So to jump in, Eric, the first thing that I wanted to chat about with you today is the use of SEO and paid media within these two different settings, and how, at least in our experience, we've had multiple case studies where we've seen great success in your less densely populated areas, or as we said, small America, compared to your metropolitan DFW, San Francisco, buzzing. Um,
Don't group DFW with San Francisco. Thank you,
okay,
sir.
I won't do. I backtrack. Strike it from the record.
Sir.
um, so when we think of SEO, so for those who don't know what SEO is, of course, it's all the organic traffic that we are trying to get to the website. So any efforts we put in place, from writing the content on the website to the type of pictures that we're using to building the authority of the website, this does not you do not pay to play. It's efforts put in that then generate traffic for you. And what we've seen is that if you are a practice in a smaller town or area where it's not as populated or competitive, this
Mhm.
is a incredible tool for you to very quickly build up rank and get into those top positions.
Yeah, your investment in SEO in a small town should go further than, I mean, just the competitive factors alone are going to help you more. I also, on the other side, as you're talking the paid media side, I think it's a little more, even today in 2024, like I think seeing ads next to your name feels a little more not as, I don't know the term, not as
We-
good in a small market
The
where
consumer is becoming smarter. I think that's the
the
best
consumer's
way that
becoming
I can.
smarter.
Yeah.
And we're in a smaller town and a more rural setting and a more suburban setting. I think obviously it happens, but I think in a big town, like, no one blinks at it, seeing an ad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's normal. It's part of
it's
everyday
normal.
life.
You're being
And
marketed
that's
to every day, and you're more used to it. Yeah.
everywhere you go. You're in, there's the billboards, there's there's the Google ad. So that's where, to make my point on this, if you are in the suburbs or small America and you have that family, more of a relaxed environment, it's not the hustle and the bustle all the time, making sure that you as a dental practice invest in dental SEO to have the long-term growth of when someone in that town looks for a dentist or looks for a type of service, you are the one that's organically showing up at the top and you're not having to use ads. That's what I would recommend. And that's what we have seen. I mean, we've grown practices compounding month over month just by focusing on, we need to get you ranking for every single service. Now, on the other side, in a big city, man, Eric, if you've got 30, 40 dentists in a 5 mile radius, 10-mile radius, SEO, you focus on it, but it's going to be an initial struggle because
It's going to be it's going to be a journey.
It's going to be a journey. It's not going to be write some really good, valuable content and I'll get to number 1 or number 2 over the next 3 months or to 6 months. That's what you're looking at on this side. In a big city, number 1, your dentists are, I would not say more educated, but more inclined to work with marketing companies that
Significantly so.
Very competitive. So
Yeah.
I'm not competing with a practice that's been there for the last 30 years and the 4 other guys, and they have their constant stream. They don't even need SEO. So because they've just been there for so long. But in the cities, you need to have a well-constructed dental SEO strategy that is consistent and that's going to move the needle, or you will not see the results. But that's where paid media comes in for those cities. And it might be a bit
you're
expensive.
shoring up. It is more expensive. That's an interesting discussion. In a larger, high-density city, you need to invest heavier in paid media. Google ads, video ads, display ads. Facebook, Instagram, things like that ads, because you're longer to get SEO up and running. I don't know that SEO is less important. That's what you're echoing well. It's just that it is just more expensive to market in a big city. I mean, and while you have a higher population ratio, you also have a higher sophistication of marketing required to move the needle. And it's a counterbalance. So, there's pros and cons to each. But one area that I love in smaller towns or more, Grapevine, we live in Grapevine in the DFW area. And it's a very high, community. Like, people move to Grapevine because they want to live in Grapevine. And the value of community events and building your brand in the company is, I would say, up there with SEO and paid media strategies in suburban areas. I mean,
it might be more important. I know this is an unpopular opinion because I work for a dental marketing company, but if you just go and shake hands and kiss babies and you're doing that every single weekend and you're involved in your community,
it's a good marketing strategy.
Ooh, Eric,
It's a
I
good
can't
marketing
say
strategy.
that's a
Mhm.
good marketing strategy. That's a
Yeah.
good strategy.
You might
Uh,
not need if in fact if you were passionate about it and what's the rule of Reddit and the internet? Step one, be attractive. Step two, don't be ugly. Like if you that's why you don't carry the team on that. But no, I really feel if you are one of those extrovert, excited personalities and you just love doing that, that is the only marketing strategy you need, truthfully. Right.
mm.
I mean, if you were gonna do that. But that's the hard work of life. I mean, doing that year in, year out, month in,
Because
month
you
out.
you need to gain the trust, and that's again where we're
Hmm.
saying in the smaller communities. Eric, why do you go to the mechanic that you go to? Why do I go to the barber shop down here that I go to? It's
Yeah.
because I developed that relationship, and especially in the community-based towns where there are all of these events. That's again where we cannot encourage dentists enough to get involved. And I mean, if your daughter or son plays in the local football team or in the lacrosse team or in the whatever it is, going there and having conversations or sponsoring the
Hmm.
local team and
Being
being involved.
being active in the church and not maybe not in the leadership, but just being one of the ushers or somewhere where you can just have more conversations with people more consistently and you don't have to talk about dental, just get to know them as human
Mm.
beings. But I think being active in your church, being active in your community, going to the town hall meetings and things like that, just having a voice in your community is, again, we do digital marketing for a living. So, if every dentist did this, we'd have to maybe change careers. But a dentist who did that well gets to spend much less on marketing. Yeah.
And that, I mean, and I'm even happy for you to do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
if if you can do that, and then I can be your marketing agency, making sure that when someone then does search your name, you're showing up first. You
That's
you
right.
have a beautiful brand. You have the updated pictures. You have the reviews you need. Then I
And
mean
we have
those two
something else to
things.
talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and I mean that what I'm mentioning there with the branding and looking right and stuff, that's another one that I actually want to touch on that
Mm-hmm.
is very important for dentists to understand. Eric, as you mentioned at the start of this call, the type of culture that we have in a big city is different and what people are expecting and wanting. If you think of, I mean, you say, what is it? There's a younger population. They're
Mm-hmm.
more willing to spend money on things, especially if they're in that rat race type of this is the type
Keeping
of
up with the
product.
Joneses. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
want the sleek, this type of look. Eric, have you seen a dentist in like New York that's like, come where family is first,
No,
and
certainly there are people in New York that value family, but most people who live there for the job opportunities. They're there for the company, and you have to cater to that in your branding. And even we run on time and have online scheduling. I think is much more important than it is in suburb. Now, I know that running on time is always important, but I think the amenities, the Beats headphones, and the different stuff, I think those just hit a little better in a city versus in
Mhm.
a suburban area where I am there because of the connection I have.
Mm,
And
exactly.
and I do think that in suburbs or less densely populated areas, that connection is king. I think it's important in big cities too, but I think it is a little more commodity in a big city. There's a ton of dentists. There's all kinds of them, and you have your pick of what type of practice you want to go to.
Mm.
So I think the little amenities and things like that matter a little more. But yeah, just to wrap up branding as we talk about it, well, I think it's important for the practice to reflect the dentist's values. I also think it's as or more important actually for the dentist office to represent the values and needs of the patient base they're serving.
Mm.
And to do that, I think your branding has to be in tune with your population. I think it has to be in tune with the area you're in. Um, and even in you mentioned in New York City, like as you move through the boroughs, you are going to have a different vibe for the office because the people you're serving have different ambitions and needs as well. And if you think
And
about that, part of that branding is how you present yourself in social media. And when you are in a more community centric area, I think your social media needs to reflect that too, and mission trips and giving back to the community and
The community involvement, doing
the
posts
community
on.
involvement piece.
We
Yeah,
loved visiting the local lacrosse team this week.
yep.
It was a fantastic. You guys did
You
amazing.
South Africans
Congratulations.
in lacrosse.
Oh yeah, you guys don't have lacrosse, do you?
I
Do
mean,
you have lacrosse?
like 5 people play.
Okay,
Um,
let me say football or soccer, because I know I have to distinguish between it. But your local soccer game or your local football game happening or something, just to say like, go Tigers. Like what? Like we
mhm,
loved being
mhm.
at the game.
Even if a coffee shop opens next door, like welcome, redefine coffee house to the neighborhood. It's great to have great neighbors and
Mm.
tag them because they're going to reciprocate that in some degree. But no, I,
All
I
right.
think, as you move through the SEO, the paid media strategy, getting into the community events, which cascades down into how you present your practice from a brand perspective, which then cascades down to how you talk about it on social media. There's big differences in how you market from rural America to suburban America to, highly dense urban areas. And even, as you move across from coast to coast, the ambitions of someone who lives in Kansas City are going to be different than someone who lives in San Francisco. And you can't just take the same strategy and approach and apply them to two distinct offices and have it work. There has to
And
be a very different.
and to wrap that up, perfectly said, you need to be the voice of, if you're joining of course we know it, Eric, and we're talking about it, but dentists should not just accept that all marketing agents think about it in this way, because they're just doing services. You as the dentist, make it a point to say, this is the type of community I'm in, and I need you to work with me to represent that and speak to that patient base.
Very well said, Ian. Very well said.
So
Well,
there we go.
I'm Eric. That's Ian, and that was your Bite of Dental Marketing.
Thank you very much.